U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has named the managers of the impeachment trial of outgoing U.S. President Donald Trump. The Democratic representative of Maryland, Jamie Raskin, has been named as the manager of the latest impeachment effort. With this, Nancy Pelosi has formally initiated a renewed Trump impeachment trial.
The facts are very clear. The president called for this seditious attack. For days, he urged supporters to come to Washington for the insurrection. Wednesday morning, he participated in a rally to encourage the rioters to march on the Capitol and fight. Who knows what he might do next? But House Republicans rejected this legislation, and so the president's unhinged, unstable, deranged acts of sedition may continue, endangering America and undermining our democracy.
Joining us live from New York for more on this is our correspondent, Sarah Walton. Thanks for being with us. Now, Nancy Pelosi has formally initiated a renewed Trump impeachment trial. Jamie Raskin will be heading it, and the Democrats have charged Trump with incitement of insurrection. What are the latest details, and what does this mean for Trump now?
Well, as you say, the House has begun proceedings for the day. They sat down at about 9 o'clock US time on the East Coast. And there are several stages to how this will go. Of course, they've had some practice of this quite recently with the first impeachment of Donald Trump taking place in last year. What happens is, for the first hour, they have a debate simply about the process, the rules for the day, and setting out what will happen. There'll be a vote on that, and once they're agreed, they then move on to actually debating what would normally be articles of impeachment. This time round, just that single article, which is the incitement of insurrection. And in that, I think we can expect to hear from many members of the House. I think what we're likely to hear is people who were actually in the Capitol building at the time of the attack last week, giving their very personal accounts of what it was like to live through that. And then we expect a vote on that article to happen at around 4 p.m. in Washington, D.C. So it'll be, early evening, really, by the time we get a result from that here in the US. And you said earlier, Donald Trump looks likely to be the first US president to be impeached twice. I think it's safe to say that that is certainly what is going to happen today. The Democrats who are bringing these articles, they have a majority in the House of Representatives, and that is how they were able to impeach the president the first time round without any support from Republicans. This time round, as you say, we've already heard from a number of Republicans in the House who say they will back impeachment. What will be interesting to see is how many of them, when it comes to that moment of putting in their vote, will back the impeachment and go against the president of their own party.
Right, Sarah, and on that, we believe 5 U.S. House Republicans have already declared that they will support the impeachment. This, of course, is different to the first impeachment of Donald Trump. Just how big a deal, just how big a shift is this?
I mean, this is huge. You have to remember, although there's been widespread condemnation of President Trump's actions in the run-up to the attack on the Capitol building, when it comes to actually voting on an impeachment in the House of Representatives, there is still politics involved in this. The people that you see sitting in the House of Representatives today will be very aware that in 2 years' time, they may be up for re-election, many of them. We have sort of midterm elections that happen in between the presidential elections, and even though Donald Trump is set to leave the White House, they will need to fight for their seats. Donald Trump is still an incredibly popular politician here. More people voted for him in the general election than any other presidential candidate ever, other than Joe Biden, of course, who went on to win that election. And so these House members in very Republican areas are going to need Donald Trump's supporters to vote for them in those elections, in ongoing elections. So, the idea of going on record at this point in time to take such dramatic action against Donald Trump is something that could potentially work against them in the future. So to make that decision will be difficult. But interesting to note as well, obviously, it's a very different situation in the Senate. In order for the president to actually be removed from his position in the Senate, they would need a 2/3 majority. Obviously, the Republicans do still have a slight majority there at the moment. What we could see influence the actions there is just how many members of the Republican Party in the House choose to back impeachment today.
And Sarah, the trial will certainly take longer than the time that the outgoing president has left in office. But they are going to pursue this impeachment anyway. Is this just to ensure that he can't run for public office again? Is this the only reason?
That is going to be a very big motivation for some members of the Republican Party to move forward with this. The timing is still a little bit up in the air. It's up to the House Democrats, if this impeachment is passed, to send those articles of impeachment to the Senate for them to have a trial. It could happen very quickly. There are some suggestions, as you mentioned earlier, that it may be held until after Joe Biden is inaugurated, for that to happen, potentially even 100 days after Joe Biden is inaugurated, in order for him to have time to work on some of his immediate legislative agenda. But yes, it's very unclear if Donald Trump would in fact be removed from power if these articles went to the Senate. But one thing that would come about if he were removed from power, it would take him out of being able to run for office again. And that is something that Donald Trump has said several times, certainly alluded to since he lost the election, that he would want to run again in 4 years' time. Increasing number of senior members of the Republican Party, Mitch McConnell, for example, the leader of the Republicans in the Senate, expressing very strong disagreement with the president's actions, even though they haven't come out to say they will back impeachment. The idea that they could remove him from potentially standing again in the future is something that they may well hold in mind as they go into a vote.
All right, thank you very much. We'll have to leave it there. Thanks for bringing us all the latest out of New York.